Doing the semester exam study guide. So let's go ahead and get started. Write down everything that I write down. If you get the question wrong, then you need to show all of your work with whatever I have written down. If you get it right, then as long as you've got work shown, then you don't have to do anything for that question. But if you get it right and you don't have any work, you need to write everything down that I'm writing down. So we will start with question 1. Whenever we are subtracting decimals, you need to make sure to line up your decimals. So we have 62 and 99 hundredths, and we are going to line up our decimals with 10 and 83 hundredths. And we are subtracting here. So 9 minus 3 gives us 6. 9 minus 8 is 1. Bring our decimal point straight down. 2 minus 0 is 2. And 6 minus 1 is 5. So 52 and 16 hundredths is our answer. Okay, for number 2, we have 423 and 22 hundredths, and we have 98 and 30 hundredths. Again, line up your decimals. Make sure that you have all of your numbers in the correct place value. We are adding for this question, so 2 plus 0 is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. Bring your decimal point straight down. 3 plus 8 is 11. Carry your 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 9 is 12, carry your 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. So 521 and 52 hundredths. Number 3 is 4 and 4 tenths, and we are multiplying that times 6. 4 times 6 is, and you don't have to line up your decimals when you are multiplying. So that's why I can put the 6 underneath the 4 tenths, and it's okay. 6 times 4 is 24, carry the 2. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 2 is 26. We have one decimal place, so I'm going to start at the back of my number and move that decimal place over one time. My answer is 26 and 4 tenths. Number 4, we have 7 times 21.6. Remember that when you are multiplying with decimals, you can use the commutative property and switch your numbers around, whichever is most helpful. Here we want our longer number on top. That's going to make this so much more easy for us. So 21.6 times 7. Again, when you're multiplying, you do not have to line up your decimals. So 6 times 7 is 42, carry your 4. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11, carry your 1. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15, and you have one decimal place, so we're going to start at the back and move our decimal place over one time. So our answer is 151 and 2 tenths. Make sure you get all this down. Pause this video if you need to at any time. We are going to start next on problem 5. Okay, we are dividing here. Make sure when you're dividing that you put your first number in the house. That's what I call it, in the house. And then your second number is your divisor, so it goes on the outside. Okay, so when we have a decimal in your divisor, you need to make sure that you move it until it is right next to the house. So we need to move this over 1 and 2 times. If you move that decimal 2 times, you need to move the decimal in your dividend 2 times. So once and twice. If you have an empty bucket here, you need to put a 0. So now we have 9 into 1080. And you can bring your decimal point straight up if you want to, just to make sure that you know it's there. 9 goes into 1 0 times. 9 goes into 10 once. 1 times 9 is 9. Subtract and we get 1. 10 minus 9 is 1. Bring down your 8. 9 goes into 18 2 times. 2 times 9 is 18. Subtract and we get 0. Sometimes students want to stop here. Remember, if you have numbers right here, you have to have a number directly above it. So we do have a 0 here. Make sure to bring that down. 9 goes into 0 0 times. 0 times 9 is 0. Subtract and we get 0. Now, we have nothing else to bring down, so we are officially done with our problem. You could either just make this 120, or you can make it 120.0. Either one of those would be correct. Okay, let's do number 6. Number 6, those numbers are kind of hard to see, but it is 1/6 times 1/8. When you are multiplying fractions, we just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 6 times 8 is 48. So my answer is 1 over 48. And we'll do number 7 right below here. 1 over 2 divided by 1/4. So when we are dividing fractions, we want to make sure that we multiply by the second number's reciprocal. So to do that, we're going to do KCF, keep the first fraction, change the sign to multiply, and flip the second fraction. So 1 times 4 is 4. Then we're just going to multiply straight across. So 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. You can either leave it as 4 over 2, or you can divide 4 divided by 2, which equals 2. Either one of these would be correct on the semester exam. I would take either one of those as answers. So 4 over 2 or, well, hello, 4 over 2 or just 2 would be correct. Okay, now number 8. Number 8, we're actually using this number line that is written below. It says, what integer is letter C at? Well, if I'm going to draw this a little bit bigger here. So this was 0, and that's letter B is at 0. Okay, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces to the left is letter C. Okay, what you could do is beneath all of these dashes, you could make your number line complete by putting the numbers underneath. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6. So C is on -6, or C is at -6. Okay, so then number 9, it says write a greater than, less than, less than or greater than or equal to sign to compare the two numbers. When we are comparing fractions and decimals, you either need to make them both decimals or you need to make them both fractions. It is really hard to compare numbers that one has a fraction and one has a decimal. So I'm going to do it both ways. You can choose whichever way you like to do it best. We've got 1 and 5/8, and we are comparing that to 1 and 6/10. So to put these both as fractions, the first one is already a fraction. And the second one, 1 is our whole number. That's the whole number in front of your decimal, so it'll be the whole number in front of your fraction. And then the 6 is in the tenths place, so we're going to put that number over 10. Now, when we are comparing these two numbers, they both have the same whole number, but their fractions, when we're comparing their fractions, you can just cross multiply them. So 10 times 5 gives us 50. And 8 times 6 gives us 48. So we can see that 50 is larger than 48, therefore 1 and 5/8 is larger than 1 and 6/10. Okay, if you are trying to change them both to decimals, 1.6 is already a decimal, so we can put that over here. And then to change 1 and 5/8 to a decimal, 1 is already the number in front of our decimal. We just have to figure out what number is behind our decimal. So to do that, 5/8 is just a division problem, so we're going to put 5 in the house, top number always goes in the house, and divide it by our bottom number, our denominator. So 8 cannot go into 5, so we put a 0, put a decimal, and then annex a 0. 8 goes into 50 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. Subtract 50 minus 48 gives us 2. Annex another 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract and we get 4. Annex another 0, bring it down. And 8 goes into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract and we get 0. So it is 1. Here we have a whole number of 0, but remember we had a whole number in front of our fraction, so we will have a whole number in front of that decimal. And then the numbers behind the decimal are the same, so 6, 2, 5. Now, when we are comparing these two decimals, we want to make sure that they come out to the same place value. So here is the tenths place and here is the tenths place. We want to go out to the thousandths place because that's what this one is going out to, the thousandths place. So to do that, you just annex zeros. So I will need to annex 2 zeros to make it go out to the thousandths place. Now we can compare this. This is 625 thousandths and this is 600 thousandths. 625 thousandths is actually bigger than 600 thousandths, so therefore 1 and 5/8 is bigger than 1 and 6/10. So you will have the greater than sign. You guys do need to know your greater than, less than, and equal to signs. Make sure that you are able to read those. Okay, actually let me scroll down to the bottom of this page. Okay, all right, number 10. Remember, absolute value is how far a number is from 0. And it's always going to be a positive number. Our answer of absolute value will always be positive. So, how far is negative 3 from 0? It is 3 steps away from 0. How far is 10 from 0? It is 10 steps from 0. Again, it will always be the positive form of whatever number is inside those lines. And these are your absolute value lines. That's what tells you that this is an absolute value problem, aside from the directions saying, find the absolute value. Anytime you see those lines, that means what is your absolute value or how far is this number from 0. Okay, so number 12, it says solve for y. We have 2y equals 30. Remember, when a letter or variable is next to a number, that means you're multiplying them. So right now, draw your line down from your equal sign. Your y is being multiplied by 2, so the opposite of that is dividing by 2. So we want to divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 times y is y. And 30 divided by 2 gives us 15. So y is equal to 15. And 13, f minus 13 and 2/10 equals 28 and 9/10. We're doing the same thing here. Draw your line down from your equal sign. Our variable f is subtracting 13.2, so the opposite of subtracting 13.2 is adding 13.2. So we are going to add 13.2 to both sides. This side cancels, and we are left with our variable f equals 9 plus 2 is 11, carry your 1. 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 3 is 12, carry your 1. And 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Bring your decimal point straight down. So f is equal to 42 and 1/10. All right, and number 14, if I can squeeze this one in down here, 8 plus x equals 25. Draw your line down from your equal sign. Right now our variable x is being added to 8, so the opposite of that is subtracting both sides by 8. 8 minus 8 cancels, and we are left with x equals 25 minus 8. 25 minus 8 is 17, so x is equal to 17. Okay, make sure that you have all of this written down. If you need to, you can pause the video. All right, number 15. We have y equals 6x plus 1. That means 6 times x plus 1. So we already know our x values. They tell us in our chart. Okay, to fill in the bottom part, you just have to replace x with the number that is written in the x column and then solve it, and you will get your y. So 6 times 1 plus 1. So 6 times 1 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 plus 1 is 13. 6 times 3 is 18, and 18 plus 1 is 19. 6 times 4 is 24, and 24 plus 1 is 25. And 6 times 5 is 30, and 30 plus 1 is 31. Okay, for number 16 and 17, you are just writing the ordered pairs of the letters that's shown. Okay, remember that these are all counting by halves too. So we have negative 1/2, negative 1, negative 1 and 1/2, negative 2, negative 2 and 1/2, negative 3, negative 3 and 1/2, negative 4. So W is actually written as negative 4, that's your X value. Okay, and to find your Y value, you need to go up or down. So we are at 0 here, we went to negative 4, and now we need to go down negative 1/2, negative 1. See that we are at the negative 1, okay, for our y. So that is number 17, which is W. Nope, that was 16. Yep, that was 16. This is 17. 17 is X. So we are trying to find the ordered pair for X. Okay, so we count over on our X axis first. So 1/2, 1, 1 and 1/2, 2, 2 and 1/2. So we are at 2 and 1/2. If you want to write this as 2.5, that is absolutely fine. And then we need to go up or down to see what it is on our y-axis. We actually don't move at all. When you don't move at all, your answer is 0. So X is 2 and 1/2, your y is 0. Okay, number 18, it wants us to find the length of line DE. This is line DE, okay? Again, these are counting by halves. So 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, 4/2, 5/2, 6/2. So you can write 6/2. That's absolutely fine. Or you can divide this, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. If you also counted every other one, some people want to do this, 1, 2, and 3. Because it's counting by halves, 2 of them make one whole. You could do that as well, whatever way works best for you. Okay, and our last two problems. Number 19 says, write an inequality to the situation. The age of the house, A, is greater than 3 years. We need our greater than sign, and then the 3 years is just a positive 3. So A is greater than positive 3. Number 20, it says, write an inequality that the graph represents. We know we need a variable. It does not matter what variable you pick. It could be any letter of the alphabet. And then we need our number 3 because that's the number that it starts on. Okay, and we need to know if these numbers are greater than or less than 3. Well, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, those are all greater than 3. So I need the greater than sign. And remember, if this dot is colored in, then we are including 3. If we are including 3, then it is also or equal to. So we need that line underneath. So x is greater than or equal to 3. If we have a closed dot, it is greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. And if it's an open dot, it's just going to be greater than or less than. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.